Welcome, welcome, welcome. Fearless Ears Friday, everyone. Hope you're having a great week and a great weekend ahead. This is Ari with my weekly live stream. Hello to YouTube, hello to Facebook. If you are commenting, please allow access to your name or put your name into your Facebook. I love to hear from you. And I can tell who you are if you put your name in there. And I would like to just say that... let's see, here we go. Okay, so today, for some reason, is Phrygian Day, I have decided. And as always, I like to have one main topic to just help you sharpen your ears, look at things a little bit differently. The way I teach is very, very systematic. I have an ear training course out. Info on that is right here below. And it goes very deep, and it helps you really become confident in the use of your own ears so that you can take tunes off of a recording. You don't have to rely on tab, and you can also expand on what you are doing, because a good ear also means that you have good facilities in terms of what your fills do, what your solos do, how you create your own grooves. So again, a very warm welcome. Hello, Walter. Good to see you here. One of the regulars. Very nice. Excellent. So today, as I said, is Phrygian Day, but as always, I like to start out with my sound classes. And wherever you are on your training journey, it's typically very interesting for folks who have, not much confidence in their ear abilities, but also very interesting for people who have quite a good ear, because it's an interesting way to think about sounds. And my husband's a composer, so I'm constantly around this question: how can I create emotions that, how do I get rid of this here? So how do I create an emotional context for the music, right? And there are some very simple ways of looking at this, and the best place to start are my sound classes. So I have 4 different ones. Typically in these live streams, talk about 3 of them. Open. The sound class of open are the perfect fifth, the octave, the fourth, and the unison. Oh, there we go. This one. Those are the open sound class. They don't color the sound much. They just bring a little bit more beef and a little bit more juice, but they don't bring any much new information. Then we have 2 others, pretty or sweet. Thirds, major and minor, of course, and sixes, major and minor. That's the love song stuff, as I like to say. And then we have the tense sound class, very tense, as tense as it gets, half step apart. That's major and minor, seconds and sevenths. And if you know a little bit of theory, then you know that all these guys are inversions of each other. This is one of the reasons why you want to know your theory, because it helps your ears. Seconds and sevenths are inversions of each other. Fourths and fifths, inversions of each other. Unison, octave, inversions of each other. And they are having a very typical related sound. So here is your turn. Please, would you guess the sound class? And if you are advanced and can tell me, I got to cover this up so you guys can't see it. So I'll do my acrobatics here again. If you hear what it is, let me know. We have a delay, so I won't wait for the answer. I'll give it to you 3 times. And now it's your turn. What is this? Tense, pretty, or open? If you're hearing precisely what it is, let me know. This would be the tense sound class. It is tense and close together. It's a major second. Major second. And there's one tensor. It's pretty tense, but also pretty. It's like a nice tense, right? And we hear it in context, and things always unfold themselves to be a little bit different. But this is minor second. That's even tenser, right? Well done, Ed. Yep, we got a lot of right responses. Okay, how about is a contrast this one? Sound class. Yep, a lot of correct stuff there from Harry, Walter, Ed, Adam. Got it. What's this one? You guys could just keep going, because this is also the tense sound class. Tense, but further apart. You hear that? Somebody says open. You're not that far off, because the open's kind of close. Listen to that. That's a minor 7. This sound is wedged inside a dominant chord. Listen to that. Now I'm just adding the third and the fifth. Right now I'm having a dominant 7 chord. Listen for this quality. It's very unique. Shows up in the major scale only once on the 5 chord. Very important. This thing, right? So, and you were not far off, because if I go from here to here, then I'm in open territory, right? This is just 2 little half steps, minor 7th. Well done, Harry. Yep, that's exactly what I played. So, and somebody heard an open sound class, they heard this, right? There's a lot of stuff we hear. Like in that B flat, for example, there is an F in there too, right? So then we hear this a little bit in there. I mean, once you get in it, you can hear all sorts of sound wedged inside the intervals, because we don't just hear one note. We hear overtones as well. A typical example is you play somebody a note and they sing that note, and they sing la, la. Now that's not the note I'm playing, which is la, right? But la is in there. It's the 5th. It's inside that sound. It's an overtone. So they're not that far off. So oftentimes people hear something that's sort of wedged in there, but not exactly it. I'm going to give you one more. This is a tough one. It's a deceiving one. I'm moving this interval up and down a little bit to help you find it. This is which sound class? This is a perfect 4th and would fall into the open sound class because it's the inversion of the 5th. If I turn this around, it sounds really open, right? Right? It sounds very open. Power chord, strong. But when I turn it around, I get this sound. If you heard tense, you're not so far off, because there's a little bit of tension in there. I can resolve that beautifully like that, right? The 4 wants to go to the 3, but it is considered part of the sound class open. All right, I said today is Phrygian Day. And I got a track for you here. And if you want to see what I'm using, people always ask me about this. I use the program Transcribe. Love this program. Helps you, click into the sound file. You can, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. You can slow it down, speed it up. There's all sorts of things you can do with this, and it is nice visual representation of what you're doing. So if you are transcribing a tool like this is wonderful, just because you can zoom in, you can go exactly to a note. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and then just, find exactly a thing. You can loop it, you can move it around, you can make markers, you can even make beat markers. So you have, single beats, and it's a great tool to help you transcribe. And people ask me about it all the time. So I'm going to put the banner in there. I highly recommend you get it, so you can get it for Windows or for Mac. I believe it's $39, I think, and it's well worth the expense, just because there's also a free program that's called Audacity that does the same thing, or the Amazing Slowdowner, or something called AnyTune Pro for the iPhone or smartphone. So those things work just great, because you have so much better opportunity to get in there, into the sound file. Okay, so I said Phrygian Day. First of all, I'm just going to play you a little bit of this track here. And I'm interested. I'm playing the Phrygian scale over it. And this is a sound, right? It's a minor scale. Phrygian is a mode. It's a kind of scale. It should be a kind of a sound in your ears. It's the most important thing. I have this theory that people are really worried about the modes all the time, just because of their complicated sounding names. And it's really not what it should be about. It should be about the sound. Now, Phrygian sounds a little bit Spanish, right? It's like... get this dramatic sounding minor, if you will. Again, the bridge to the emotion will help you understand a sound or a scale. And there's so many ways how you can practice this. This one example of how I recommend to get into the sound of a mode. So it's a minor mode. I'm going to play in such a way that you hear that it is a minor mode. So I'm just going to like sit on that minor third. Now I am making it sound like just barely like just a minor chord, right? Because all I'm doing is I'm sitting on that minor 7 triad or minor 7 chord, which is in there. It's a sound that's in there. I'm not exactly pointing you to the main characteristic of Phrygian, which is the half step in the beginning. Phrygian, as some of you may know, is the 3rd mode, and I am really interested if somebody can tell me what the parent scale would be of a Phrygian. That's where I am right here. So again, it's a minor scale, it's a regular minor scale. The only thing that's odd about it is that it has a flat 2. A lot of people teach modes going C major, E Dorian, E Phrygian. If you play it in that order, you cannot hear the sound of Phrygian because you have already laid down the C. And it is such a strong sound that whatever I play afterwards, you will hear it relating to C. So the way to do it, the way to hear modes is to start on the same root. C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian, right? And go through it like this, Lydian, Mixolydian, right? So you want to hear the same root. That's the only way to hear the characteristic of the mode. And the mode has a color. It's a flavor. And when we are hearing them all from the same root, then you actually get to hear them. Juan's got it right. F major. Yes, that's correct. F major is the mother scale of a Phrygian. How do I know? Because Phrygian is the 3rd mode. 3, 2, 1. There's my F, right? So I am getting, so 3, 2, 1. So I can find easily where my Phrygian is. Okay, so you pop on a track that has that in there, and then you play around with the different sounds within it. This is endless. I could talk for hours about the sounds that are inside of this. So let's explore this a little bit. Here I'm going to, again, just sit on a regular minor 7 chord and not bring out the Phrygian quality. So just to let you hear that again. Right? I'm not hearing that drama. I'm not underscoring it. It's in the track, but I'm not underscoring it. Now, how about this, though? I'm going to sit on that flat 2 a lot. Now, all of a sudden, as the bass player, I introduce all this drama, right? Should you always do it? Well, it depends, depends on the context. But this is, if you're having a Phrygian sound, it's a wonderful way of introducing, the drama of Phrygian. People often ask me, well, tell me a tune in Phrygian, tell me a tune in Dorian, and it's not as clear cut. In my ear training course, I have put lots and lots of lists of songs that stay in a certain mode for at least a minute or two, or a bridge or a chorus or a verse. There are songs that do that. A lot of hard rock songs are in Phrygian, for example, but they don't typically stay there for the entire song. So you have the flavor for a moment, for a verse, for a chorus, for a hook, but then they go back into diatonic context or a mixed modal context, as we call it. So it's not as clear cut. Well, I'd like to have some, and typically also, this as a side note, is welcome, Colin. Nice to join. So when you write key signatures, you typically don't write a key signature for Dorian. You sometimes do that with Celtic tunes. I should make that as an exception, but you typically don't write a key signature for Phrygian. You just introduce, the flats, or typically flats, or it's got to be a flat. It could be a sharp. depending on where you are. But it for the half step, right? You are going to introduce whatever, that could be a natural sign. Let me think about this for a second. If you, I'd have to think about this, but typically I think it will be a flat pretty much across the board. So in order to, mark out, it's going to be Phrygian. So I hope that makes sense. You don't make a general key signature for Phrygian. Like I'm not playing an A Phrygian and I write one flat for F major, right? Typically I would write what the majority of the key of the tune is in. So every tune has its gravity. Every tune has its sort of home base harmonically that you hear. And that is typically revealed in the end of the tune, because more often than not, the tune goes home in the end. There might be a turnaround if I repeat it 3 times and then go back to the top every time I go back to the top. But the last time I'm not. I'm just sitting on that last chord. And people often ask me, how do you know which tune, which key a tune is in? Well, if you have a key signature, that gives you a pointer, but it's not, you can't take it at face value because it could be major or minor, right? If I have one flat, it could be F major, or somebody tell me, put it in the chat, could be F major or D minor. So you want to understand that the key signature is just a pointer, but the way you find the key is you look at the end of the tune. If there are turnarounds, you got to be wise enough to say, oh, that's just when I repeat it. But if I don't repeat it, then I'm just going to stay on the one chord, right? There's some sort of a gravity that the key center has. And most tunes have one key center. Some have more than one, some break all the rules, but it's good to get your ears tuned towards that. Okay, so back to Phrygian. And again, what's the goal? I want to get into that Phrygian sound and really explore it. And best way to do that is put on a Phrygian track and then just practice with it and find the different shapes within it. So again, I could go on all day, but one thing I could find in there, for example, I try thirds, right? So I'm gonna play this track and I'm gonna play the scale in thirds. This is something I know very well because I've practiced it in my new book, which is for pre-sale at the moment, A Pattern System for the Bass Player. We go deeply into the practice of all these scalar studies, as I call them. And somebody says the shapes help me out a lot. That's great to hear. I can't tell you a name. I don't know if you maybe in one of my practice groups, we have, just want to put this together here. We have practice groups where we go through the pattern system together. If you're interested in that, arispaceblock.com/practice, if you like. And if you are interested in getting my new book, then here is the Indiegogo campaign that is still running. We've got lots of perks, so you can get, reduced two wall charts in one roll and all sorts of good stuff. So you might want to check it out at this address here. And again, the best way I think to do this is to just put on the track and then explore shapes that are in there. And the scalar studies are but one of many. But here is, in this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to improvise over this track, again, the same rock track, Phrygian. And I want you guys to see if you can hear what my main theme is in my improvisation. In ear training, the worst mistake you can make is to try to figure something out just by going note, 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 right? You want to get the gist of it. What's my theme? See if you can hear it. It's going to be an interval. I'm going to give you that tip. Who heard what I was riffing on? Who heard what I was riffing on? You're just in a moment, wait for the delay. But what I was doing is I was playing with the thirds that show up within that scale. So So I can play a scale in order, right? Maybe you've wondered if somebody ever showed you a scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You went forth and didn't necessarily play better, right? And the reason for that is that music doesn't always happen in a scale. Somebody says minor third, you're close. Some thirds are minor, like the first one, but the second one, if I keep going, turns out to be major. Why? Because, well, this one's also major, right? This one's minor. I'm just going up the scale, but not in order, but in thirds. So I'm going 2 notes up, 1 back, 2 up, 1 back, 2 up, 1 back, and I'm doing that in Phrygian, right? 2 up, 1 back, 2 up, there's a major third, 1 back, there's a major third. How do I know it's a major third, not a minor third? Well, because I'm in the key of F major, really, right? I'm in A Phrygian. I have only 7 notes, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, at my disposal, and I'm rearranging them. And as I'm doing that, I'm learning that scale in a whole new level. Does that make sense? So that's what we do. Tons of that in my new book. I just did thirds, okay? See if you can hear which interval I'm riffing on next. Same idea. I'm just not saying you should play like this in a band. Might be a little busy, maybe in a solo, maybe in stretches, maybe for a fill. You get my idea. This is ear training. So check this out. So which interval am I playing here a lot with? And just like before, when I played my scale, not in order of the scale, but in order of a certain interval, I'm doing the exact same thing here. And I'm doing it not in thirds as before, but exactly as Juan on YouTube is saying, fourths. So, you know, you can practice all these scales systematically. It is super powerful to do that, to play them not in the order of the scale, but in all these different intervals. You can do fourths, you can do fifths. You know, the chips always fall differently, and it's an excellent exercise for the fingers, you know. You can play them in all sorts of directions. You can turn them around. I call it mixed motion in the book, where you can go different directions. There's so much in this, you know. You get these shapes under your fingers, first of all, it's killer for your technique. And second of all, it is great for your ears, because things have a certain sound. Like when I riff, I'm going to do fifths, so you can hear the open sound quality in this. And of course you have that flat 5 right as the second note, right? If I play this scale in fifths, it sounds like this. You know, as soon as I go up 1/5, then I have this sound. When I go to the second note, that's as Phrygian as it gets, right? So that's a sound that, if you use it inside this context, makes it sound very, very Phrygian. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in there. Again, I want to tell you about my book. Indiegogo campaign is still up and running. It's been a phenomenal success. I've just been absolutely blown away at the response. So just really, really grateful as how much interest there has been. And we're over 180% funded at this point. So books will go out in the beginning of May. We got wall charts. If you like this interval stuff, my music theory wall chart has all these intervals. laid out how to best finger them. It's all done in mind with the next book, which is the pattern system, which I do recommend. You have music theory for the bass player first. It's a great preparation for the pattern system. This is an excellent start because it explains what fifths and thirds and triads and diatonic and key signature and all that stuff, what that means. It's all in here. And in the next book, we just practice everything systematic up and down the neck. So that's what that next book is about. If you don't know quite yet what fifths, thirds, triads, chords, dominant seven, and all that good stuff is, then start with music theory for the bass player. And, okay, let me do one more. You get to guess which structure I'm playing with. And again, I want to invite you to tune your ears to the wider context. Don't get stuck on single notes. See if you can get a flavor. What structure am I sitting on? Gotta decide. So, what are you hearing? Anybody hear it? Try to make it as easily hearable as possible, but you can beautifully disguise this a little bit too. Play with the rhythm of it. It's a figure that's based on 3 notes. I'll tell you, it's triads. All the diatonic triads that are in this scale. You may know that on your major scale, well, the 1 chord is a major, right? But we're non-frigid. So you need to know that the 1 chord is really the 3 chord, so it's minor, right? And then the 2nd chord is, well, fifths are in there, right? Right? You're hearing a right thing. But I was doing triads. I was playing the root, the 3rd, and the 5th, right? By the way, getting something quote unquote wrong is not a bad thing. It's in ear training, when you get it wrong, make a point to listen to what you thought it was. This is fifths. This is triads. You hear it? You hear the difference? Just slow down. What's the problem? Maybe they go, oh, shoot, I got it wrong. I'm not saying you, of course, but I'm saying someone's going to go, I got it wrong. I'm hopeless. I'm never. It's a great opportunity to hear. You heard the fifths. They're in there. They're in there. And I sometimes played it differently. You'll go from the top down. There's a lot of fifths in these, as I'm hearing it now. Yeah, for sure. So it's a great opportunity to learn. So I'm just blasting through that scale, and I'm blasting not in order. I'm blasting in the order of the triads that are built inside of that. So sounds within sounds, shapes within shapes, right? I want to open your minds and your ears to that possibility, because it helps you wrap your mind around music so much of a deeper way. Okay, everybody, I'm off to my next practice group. If you're interested in those, we have new ones starting very soon. So right now the link's not up yet, but if you are interested, I want to show you this link, arispaceblock.com/practice, where we practice with about, between one group that's 9 people, one group that's 21 people. Always works out great. We're all on Zoom. Everybody has weekly assignments. We encourage each other. It's a great vibe, and it's all this systematic type of teaching, that is just so helpful to just keep going through, and especially with the program. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This was Fearless Ears Friday, and I hope to see you all next week. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Cheers.